If you are watching this video, I hope you are either a manager or you are leading a group of people, or maybe you are an owner of a company. If either is the case, you could have become that by doing your best 100% in your work compared to your peers, or you'll be having studied lot of hours in business schools or after your work. All of this is the case. As per Forbes magazine, this is one of the 10 books you should read in 2022. Our today's book is New Way to Think, published by Harvard Business Review, by the number one university, Harvard University, and written by the number one thinker in the world as per Thinker 50, Roger L. Martin. So welcome to Book.tips, myself Ramesh. So today our journey is a journey through the 14 chapters of the book, or in other way a 14 myth busting sequence which will just change your models of thinking around what you studied or what you understand so far in your business schools and all. So in short, I would tell that it's a 14 course delicious meal for your brain. Let's get started. First chapter is competition. So we all understand about competition because we know how the competition. So we used to understand that competition is between the organizations at the top. Like Amazon compete with Microsoft Azure, or Google compete with someone else, or Tesla compete with Toyota on all these things. But in actual fact, competition is happening as per the book, or the new approach is that competition is happening actually on the front line, where the customers is using that service or customer is buying that service. So this is a misunderstanding we used to have. So we should not think like competition is there in the top. No business, as per the book, no business can compete with one hand tied at the back. So all of the organization, which is multiple hierarchy until the CEO, all of these parts should support that front line who is meeting the customer. If that is not happening, the company is not going to compete. And also, if suppose a particular layer, imagine a layer above the front line, is not adding any value to the customer, so company should rethink to either remove that one, or for example, there is a product or there is a service that is not going to, there is not adding any utility or value to the customer, that also has to be think about changing it or selling it to someone else, like that. So that's a general myth busting about the competition. It happens at the front line, not at the head office. Chapter 2, we'll go to chapter second one, which is about stakeholders. So in short, stakeholders is someone who is positively or negatively impact the company. It can be customer, it can be anybody, but generally stakeholder, usually as per in 1970s and all, there was an approach that CEO is working for the shareholders, or CEO's main purpose is to increase the value for the shareholders. But what is actually the new approach is that if you focus on shareholders, or if you give the CEO the mission that your purpose is to increase the value for the shareholder, his mission will be short-sighted. He'll be always playing with the numbers to get that one. Instead, to actually create shareholder value, as per the book, put customer before the shareholder. So imagine like there he's telling about an examples of Procter and Gamble and all these things. Instead of having a short-term shareholder value increase, the CEO or the management think about long term. So the compensation of the CEO should be in such a way that, or all the management is in such a way that it will be a vested stock. They cannot get it back. Even after retirement only they can take it back. In Procter and Gamble story, they were even invited the retired CEO to join back to protect the company back. So instead of short term capitalism was being like proposed by a lot of economists, and it was even won Nobel Prize for economics for Milton Friedman in 1970s and all, and which was promoted by Jack Welch at General Electric and also Robert Gozziat at Coca-Cola. But it was a short-term approach as per the book. So CEO cannot survive by having that short-sightedness. It should be more about long-sightedness. We'll go to the next myth-busting topic. Customers. This is important. Customer is important for any particular organization. So the common misunderstanding is that everything new or everything innovative, customer will be accepting it. Also, another important thing is that customer will be loyal. This is a two misunderstanding people used to have. So what the book is trying to tell is that familiar solution usually trumps the perfect one. So Daniel Kahneman has a famous theory about thinking fast and thinking slow. I'll try to make it very simple. For example, when customer is going to a store, he will be thinking fast. It's mostly a subconscious way of interacting with it. Human mind always tried to be more automatic. It is like that. So it will not be more conscious thinking, but instead there will be a thinking slow process where the companies, the designers will be thinking slow. They will be innovating and they will think that this is a perfect product for the customers and all. So there is a gap between that. So what book is trying to tell that familiar solution usually trump the perfect one. He was trying to tell an example about Instagram logo change and how much it affect the customer, and Facebook is keeping the same page always. Example, Amazon is keeping their same page always, and they're trying to make things easy for the customer, like to reorder again, one click purchases. And even now you look at it after this many years, Amazon page is still Amazon page. Google is still using the same Google page. So that familiarity is important and usually trumps the perfect one. Even BlackBerry, they were using this QWERTY keyboard and all. Even when the smartphone arrived, customers were not able to change. So that's another important part. Example is about a Tide. Tide is one of the product of Procter and Gamble. They tried to introduce a liquid detergent using another name, Era. But actually it was a failure. Then later they understood that because customer is familiar with Tide, Era, even it is Procter Gamble they were. So they tried to change that strategy and they put the liquid detergent in the name of Tide itself, and that was a success. So instead of competitive advantage, what the book is telling that companies should create cumulative advantage. So every time a customer purchases your company's product, the gap between your company's product and the competitive product will increase. So that is a cumulative advantage. That's what, like for example, Apple is using that one. So when there is a cumulative advantage on this one, if you buy an iPhone, next time you will be buying more item on that. So the adding on, or if you're using an Android, if you're an Android user, you will not be able to change or switch to another. Same with iPhone user and all these things. So there is 4 rules written in the book. One is to become competitive with the customer. One is that become popular early. What is popular, customer always favor. And design a habit around the people. So it like subscribe and save. If you come across the new solutions like that, it can be lot of n number of things. Innovate inside the brand. This is similar to what happened. I told about the Era detergent and the Tide changed it to the liquid detergent. It changed it to its own brand later. Keep communication simple. So sometime the advertisement backfire. This happened to Samsung. Samsung was trying to advertise about water resistant phones and other things when the iPhone was introduced, but actually it backfired, that one, because customer is not slow thinkers, customer is fast thinkers. Their brain only take on a short attention span. So that's about this point. Familiar solution usually trumps not the perfect one. Customer is not always loyal and customer is always not looking for perfect one. They want to things make it easy for them. The fourth point is strategy. Maybe as a manager, this may be one of the interesting topic for all of us. But generally in strategy, what count is what would have to be true, not what is true. What generally it means is that strategy, we are talking about something in the future. You cannot predict exactly what it is. So issues, instead of having issues on this one, because strategy always come when there is an issues. So you don't have to roam around the issues. Instead, you convert that issues into possibilities into choices, And from the choices, you have to involve and collaborate with all team members. It's not necessary to be on the higher management. You should be always on the frontline people and operations manager, junior executives, and all these people that way. And in the book itself, Roger Martin is explaining a 7-step process where a company can follow to have a collaborative process on that. So Albert Einstein have a famous quote: we cannot solve our problem with the same level of thinking we use when creating them. It's Albert Einstein. So there is some change of the thinking. It's mentioned we should change our perspective from what should we do to what might we do. What should be something more arrogant to the what do I believe as a manager. Instead, we should think that what would I have to believe, and what is the right answer, because usually managers are approached for answers. Instead of what is the right answer, we should think about what are the right questions and what we should know in order to make a good decision. So it's a change of thinking. More in the book later. We'll go to the next topic. So strategy, in strategy, what count is what would have to be true, not what is true. Fourth one is data. Because in the business school, we have been taught that data is everything. You should make decisions around data and all these things. But actually, data can be true, data can be helpful, but you may not be getting data for the particular problem always. So you cannot creating great choices require imagination more than data. Because it's trying to take out that boundary of the data and thinking. I'll try to give an example. In the book, he's trying to tell about a charity organization. They used to get charity from a lot of people. So all of these donors who is giving charity, there are two type of costs: direct cost and indirect. Direct cost is something it is directly going to a particular purpose, whoever the charity is intended to. Indirect cost is something which is using the charity organizations, their salaries and other things and all these things. So this charity organization thinking that companies don't find value on our work, that's why they're not giving that much proportion of charity to the indirect cost. But actually, when Roger was trying to help them, they tried to understand that it is not that case. Actually, the case is they don't trust them. So you see, the data is telling because they don't find value. But actually, when you imagine above that, you understand that it's not about data. It's about trust. Another example is about Lego. Lego was having an issue with the girls. It was mostly played by boys, and they get the data that girls are not interested in such creative endeavors like that. But when they try to use their imagination and try to search more, they understood that girls are more interested in collaborative game than single game. So that was an imagination and supported by data. They allowed them to make the solutions collaborative for that. So about data, creating great choices require imagination more than data. So our next point is about culture, organization culture. This is also an important topic which come across managers, because managers will be always having struggle in overcoming the culture barriers of the company. So Peter Drucker famously said, culture eats strategy for breakfast. So culture is singularly persistent. People have a thinking that if you put a strict policies or strict processes, or you make an incentive package around the things, you can overcome the cultural barrier. But actually that is not the case. Example, Nokia. When smartphone was introduced, Nokia tried to just put lot of incentive packages of the people like that, so that they can change their business to smartphone industry. But actually that culture, inbound culture, was failing them. Even after acquired by Microsoft, they were still failing them, and it was not able to move. That was an important point. And another example in the same, Roger is talking about Procter and Gamble. They used to have a review session where the managers will come with a PowerPoint about the strategy, and they will create multiple issue sheets of all the possible question. It will be like a showing of all the presentations and creative slides and all. So when Roger was working with the CEO, what he tried to tell them that he did not change all of the things. He told that you have to send that PowerPoint at least 1 week before to us. So then they will give only 3 topics to discuss. They will not allow them to go through all the slides and all. And the whole discussion will be around that 3 topics. So that become more productive, and the whole culture change about values and all. So that was an important change. Another important thing he was talking about, when he was a dean at Rothman School, they used to have, they was also having a misunderstanding that, okay, when Roger is becoming a dean, they are going to change the whole setup of the, but he did not do that. There was an annual review with the professors and lectures. So he conducted the same thing, but he added one small thing. He make a 1 hour review with each of those professors and lectures, and he asked them 3 questions only. What was your mission for the last year? What is your missions for the next year? And what support you need from the college to get that one. So did you achieve that last year goal also? So this was a change in this one, because there was some incident talking about lectures was considered undergraded there. They were not able to get the laptops and all. And one of the lecturer complained him. So he told that, okay, you will get the laptop. And IT was asking whether we change the policy. So the dean told the IT department, no, we did not change the policy, but she need laptop. Let her have it. It was like, even though it was a one-to-one conversation between IT and dean, it was like an announcement to the whole college that what matters is what is our end objectives. And the same thing happened. There was, when he was working there in the college, alumni was not that much active, and they were not getting that much funds, and all funds was limited. So they get to an approach that give the value, then let us see. What really it means is that they make like lifelong learning session. Once in a year, they make one session where all the people who already completed the course from the college, they can participate one day for free, and they can refresh their knowledge. That becomes so successful that the people outside the campus want to enroll in that particular thing. Initially they were hesitant, but later they fees to that $1,000, and that was allowing them to manage the expenses and all. So that's all the cultural change. Like when you can only change it, you can only change the culture how individual work with one another. Even he was dean in the college, some of the staffs come to his desk and complain about other stuff. So immediately he stand up and tell, let us go and meet that person and we'll talk to them. So that practice day by day, he told that after some days people stop coming to him and complaining about other people. So that's a shift in the culture, how the people interact with them, because usually they will be like to complain about people when they are not there, but when they were with them, people don't like to complain. So there is shift in the culture. Next point is knowledge work. If you are working as manager, like currently this is a knowledge work is a term coined by Peter Drucker. So knowledge work, for example, VP of marketing, he'll be paid very much, but his job will have peaks and valleys. He's important to the company. He will be having like very busy time when there is a product launch and all. But in other case, he'll be most of the time only having some emails and such things like that. But also these people will not be hesitant to go back to their manager and tell that they will have work, because they feel they will be undervalued. So he's telling that to make use of such resources, which is critical to the company, we should organize these knowledge workers around projects rather than jobs. If there is more people which we can allocate towards the projects, there are too much people and there is not that much projects, should think about reallocating these people or outsourcing these people and all. So whatever is remaining, we should make use of them around projects, not jobs. That will allow them to be more creative, and also they can deliver, they will feel more valuable also. So that was the thing. Most of the thing, like for example FedEx and McDonald's and all these people, we can automate, and using the heuristics we can organize all the human resources to have a maximum efficiency. But knowledge work require unpredictable and unforeseen thinking and all these things. So these people should be utilized. They are critical, important for the company, utilized around projects, not jobs. Our next point is corporate functions. Give them their own strategies. So every company used to have a business unit and a corporate functional part of it. Usually, the thing is that business unit thinks like, and functional unit has to do all the things. Usually, it's like a business unit, like a team implements all of that. But what really happen is that functional unit will be so busy with doing all the things what business unit is telling, they will not be able to have a strategy for themselves. They will be just robotically doing day in and day out a lot of things. This is not, they should have a strategy of doing that also. So this was this point is telling, give them their own strategies to get that around, because that will be productive as well. Because when the functional unit is working on the strategies, they can give feedback to the business unit, and when they are making further strategies, that will help also. So planning, it is not substitute to strategy. So planning is the most misunderstood topic in our business now, because people think that planning and strategy is same. But in actual fact, planning is something which we have some level of idea, but strategy is not at all that. Strategy is something, it is about an unknown thing. So people think about strategic plan. We make a vision, we make objectives, we make a cost. But in actual fact, the book is telling that you can estimate the cost of the company operations by using a plan, but you cannot estimate the revenue generated, because that is in the hands of customer. So that really need a strategy. So planning should be there, but it is not a substitute for strategy. You should have a strategy, then only the company can grow. Planning should be there, but for planning purposes. There is an important quote by Napoleon Bonaparte: until you spread the wings, you will have no idea how far you can fly. So think about it. Our next point is about execution. So it's coming to the point, adapt, it is the same thing as strategy. Why? Because same happen, like strategic team make that one. But if most of the consultant companies blame the companies telling that our idea was good, but it failed in execution. So usually thing is that strategy is like brain and execution is like body. What brain tells, body follows. But it should not be that case. For example, if there is a strategy there, and when it is executing there, that execution part will have some challenges and all. So every strategy, especially for the complex thing, it will not be right all the time. So execution has to go back to strategy. They have to re-strategize it and going back to the execution again. So we have to adapt. You should not like strategy then execute it. Strategize it, implement it. It's not like that. It should be a feedback loop happening there. There is an interesting book by Matthew Syed about black box thinking. It's interesting if you like to read on that. So talent. Talent is also an important part for the manager. Manager come across a lot of talents around it. So people have a misunderstanding that talents are always getting appreciated by compensation. But there is a famous study that you cannot get more motivated after some level of salaries. So there is like for example, he's telling, in my 40 years of working, I did not find any top level category of talent who is solely motivated by compensation. I think you will have a similar situation, even you as a manager. Because William James is telling, appreciation is the most important or most powerful desire of a human being, more than money or anything like that. So he's trying to give some points about, be careful about their ideas. You have to appreciate the talent of the people, and don't block their improvement and development. That's another point he's trying to talk about. Never lose a chance to praise them. If there is an opportunity you can praise their efforts, do that. So feeling special, that's what the point. Feeling special is more important than compensation. Let's go to the next one. Innovation. The design of the intervention is as critical as the innovation itself. So here innovation, especially the more complex and less tangible the design, it is less feasible for a designer to ignore impacts. What he's trying to tell is that when the things getting more complex, the designer cannot perfectly do that. That's why the current software and all these things are using agile methodologies and all. So today design is being to able to solve the complex problem. Usually we should have an intervention should be there in the innovation. It's not like, okay, I as a scientist or I as a designer get a great idea, then implement it. Innovation is not like that. Innovation is like, even Edison invented a bulb by continuous iteration of this one. See, check multiple items. So don't misunderstand innovation of something like one a glimpse of an idea, then you have to implement it. So the design team, there should be have an intervention on the design team, having prototyping and all of these things. The collaborative learning and improvement approach, then only it can thrive. So design of intervention is as critical as the innovation itself. Then third one, capital investment. So it's also misunderstood. Many companies used to sell lot of their divisions and all, thinking that it will not create a value. So there is a common misunderstanding that they will evaluate a particular division or a category of the business based on historical performance. But instead, we should think, there are some stories in the book telling that there are some divisions of a company which was taken by the PE firms and they make it to a successful business later. So you should always think that, assume the capital investment value become reset as long as it is embedded into the company. So you should think about, hesitant about investing new ideas and opportunities. You should think about future opportunities also in terms of capital investment, not based on the historical performance. So our last point is about merger and acquisitions. Usually in the common era, there are a lot of mergers and acquisitions happening, especially after 1970s and all. So the whole idea is that sometime the acquisition will make the companies grow, and otherwise it will kill that company. Why it is happening, Roger is telling, is that because most of the time companies who acquire that small company, they think to get value from them. Instead, the book is telling you need to give value to get value. For example, Disney Bob Iger used to tell this approach, like even they acquire Marvel and ESPN and a lot of companies, Pixar and all, they allow them to be independent and they allow them to thrive. So to have more benefit about merger acquisition, telling about 4 points, be smarter to provide growth capital. One of the thing a big companies can do a small companies is that they have a lot of capital, so you have to be giving very smart in allocating capital to them so they can grow. Provide managerial oversight, because as a big company they will have a lot of exposure to the market, so give that oversight so they can improve themselves. Share and transfer valuable skills. Big companies will have a lot of skills, give to them so they can thrive. Share valuable capabilities. So in that way, first you have to give, then take, like give respect, take respect, or similar way. When you are acquiring a small company, you should first give the value. You should not be intended to get value and acquire it. That way, that whole merger and acquisition will be a failure. So it's the last point. Last one is about the author. He's Roger L. Martin. He is considered as a thinker number 1 as per Thinker 50. He's still in the 5th in the list. He is a behavioral finance graduate from Harvard University, and he specialized. He was worked with many CEOs in Procter & Gamble, BlackBerry, and he was a columnist in Business Week, Washington Post, Financial Times, and Harvard Business Review. Written a couple of books as well. He is one thing common for him and me, because we both have a common hero, Peter Drucker. And this is the last one. So this is an end of the slides. Your guide to a superior management, new way to think. So there is an interesting quote I'll add on the last. Few people think more than twice or 3 times a year. George Bernard Shaw. But I have made an international reputation for myself by thinking once or twice a week. There is an interesting recent book by Adam Grant, Think Again. I'll add it in the description. If you like to read, you can read that as well. That's all for now. See you next time. If you like or if you found value on this one, please subscribe. And if you like our presentation, please give our feedback so that we can improve in our next thing. Thank you. Bye for now.